Yeah, so wherever or whatever time in the dreaming the I am is available. Yeah. The dilemma is when you get a hit of that feeling, what comes up and claims it is the dilemma. Yeah. Because it slides right into the idea that it's us, and then it wants that. It wants the I am. Yeah. And it doesn't realize, and it may never realize, but we will, yeah, that that's the problem in a sense, yeah? When the I am, appearing as I am Paul, wants the I am, that's the biggest deterrent, yeah? It's just that simple. So, like a lot of people have come to talks and other talks, been on a cliff or whatever, yeah? And they've had those moments where the shine was unfiltered, yeah? Yeah, you sense it. You've had it many, many times. So there's a knowing of it, hopefully being it, but there's a sense of it, even, like say, downgraded to this, there's a sense of it. So what happens when that sense gets, maybe for a second, maybe for a few hours, gets overwhelming to the system, yeah? The I am, and it tells you that it's always been this way, that the whole story of it not being this way, or hoping it will be this way, is just bogus in a way. Nothing right or wrong with it, it's a story, yeah? That this is always available at all times, right where you are, because it's what we are, yeah? It's all. Nothing else could have that reliability, because it's what we are. So what happens is you get a taste, or let's say you get a taste and then it's surrounded with an understanding, and you're hoping that because you know it, yeah, it will translate into it being more available as an experience, yeah? You're not even entertaining, you are it, you're just thinking you know it. So you know the truth, and then I really know the truth, I really got the message, and then you're waiting with subtle expectation or just impatient expectation to stabilize, where, like someone I was speaking to yesterday, they read the old scriptures and it's bliss, so they're expecting that it has to be blissful all the time. I said, well, maybe in India where you can have attendees, but not in fucking Nevada, yeah? You're not gonna be blissed out all day. You'd have to have someone leading you, or be in a cave or something. So, and the bliss is an experience, yeah? It's a phenomena because it seems to come and go, even though it's been there, yeah? And it's a quality of that which has no qualities, therefore can express every quality. Yeah, it is. So therefore, the head grabs onto that and says, I'll know it when I'm blissed out completely, or in joy, like unbridled joy all day, yeah? Bubbling, constantly bubbling, yeah? And the head just put 1,000,000 miles between what you are and what you are, yeah? It's just it, yes? And now it's gonna play God all along the way to get back to that stabilized bliss or whatever, joy, yeah? So the point I found to be important was, all right, so I am a lion, I understand that, yeah? I got the message, hey, you're a lion. I got that. Yet, there are certain conditions that seem to arise that cause it to be seen from a sheep's point of view. What can you do? I mean, it seems to happen. And if I'm not clear on that, I'm going to assume the sheep's the lion. And so I'm going to know I'm a lion. I have an understanding I'm a lion, but it's really held as a sheep, yeah? So there's still going to be time and effort to become what you already are, subtly or a lot, yeah? Because the sheep is of time, the sheep is of undoing and doing. It's never, it's its basis, it's a sheep, so it can't be a lion, yeah? Can't have two things in one place, in a sense, yeah? So it can only translate it into I can become like a lion. That's it, yeah? Now I had a strong experience of it in recovery, because when I got into recovery, I had been the effect of a lot of what they were going to talk about in this big book. And so when I read the description of the problem, I was intimate with it, yeah? I mean, it just fit perfectly. And so I saw that, and they called it self. You know, self is what has defeated us. So I figured, yeah, I have a self, yeah? And that fucking little self is defeating me, which was just another self I wasn't aware of, yeah? So it made total sense. Well, this self that I am is going to get out of what I've just been told I'm not, so self's going to try to get out of self. Now, a lot of people did that in our community, recovery community, and they came up with a conclusion through lots of observation: self can't get out of self. So how can that fucking be? Yeah. Well, because you're thinking it's Paul that wants to get out of self. So it's sort of like the kitchen wants to get out of the bathroom. The kitchen can leave the bathroom because it's not the bathroom. But if the bathroom tries to get out of the bathroom, that's being in the bathroom. Yeah, that's not a bad example, but let's say a car. If there's a passenger in the car, the passenger can entertain, hey, I can get out of the car, and pretty much can, yeah? It can. The passenger will move, the car won't, and they'll see, oh, there's the car I was once in. Now I can see it. It's a fucking Ford. I thought it was a Rolls Royce while I was in it. It's just another of many cars. I thought it was the special chariot of the gods. All this stuff becomes clear when you've left it. But in this dilemma, because of the identification being so stubborn, we're trying to get out of self as self. And so for me, when I heard that in a new light, it was one of the greatest saving graces, because it went right into the fundamental dilemma that non-duality brings you to, which is, if you're a lion, why is it that it seems so hard to get that you're a lion? Yeah? If you are that, you know, if you are that which is being sought, yeah, I mean, it should come clear sooner or later. I would think sooner, you know? In other words, so here you are, you're only like 3 feet away, here I am. Let's say I'm in the certainty that I'm a lion, so I'm gonna share, hey, you're a lion, yeah? Not from here, but from, you know, some intimacy. You're a lion. And you would think, well, it can't go that wrong in 3 feet. So let's get even closer, which I did one time. I was speaking down in San Jose, and the people were really close to me. And I went on like a 40-minute tirade about self, and then the first thing I'm asked is, can you talk more about self? I said, what? How did this person not hear what I was saying? He's only a foot away. Yeah? So what happens? What happens is, here's the lion, the message goes out, and you would hope it's going to get to the lion, but it gets diverted. Yeah, the mental state like grabs it and turns it into a little, like, you know, when they're gonna rob a rich car and they have one of those anonymous garages, they pull it in, put the garage down, they change it all, strip it. That's sort of like what the mental state does. It strips the message, and now it's palatable to you as a sheep. Yeah. So non-duality, in a sense, has now become another path. That sheep state, yeah? Really, it is. Subtly or very obviously, yeah? And then the sheep really is interested is, how can I integrate the lion quality into a sheep life? Because I've seen some of these people, they have intensives every week because they got large following. So one time I read it, the title of the intensives was, How to Integrate Your Awakening to Everyday Life. That's like trying to integrate lion into sheep life, where the whole point is there's not a sheep, yeah? Why would you want to integrate reality into the dreaming? Just see you're not the dreaming, and you'll have a sense of reality. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to work. Yeah. So, to me, the important thing is just to keep banging away. Really, to watch how what you're not will subtly take the position of what you are. It's quick. Yeah. It's probably the fastest process in time, but it can be seen from timelessness. There's no timelessness. There's just whatever. But you can see the process of selfing from timelessness. Yeah? You can. I mean, because timelessness in time is before all time. It's during all time, and it's after all time. In other words, the context is timelessness, and we are of that, you know. There's at least, in AA, I think it implies it by the word innermost or something. There's an aspect that's with us that's not of time, yeah? It's not of thingness, it's not of self-centeredness. It isn't. It doesn't have all those programs. It's just an empty file, so to speak, which is everything, really. Yeah. The mental state sees it as nothing, but it's really everything. So that's always available at all times. So a lot of times when people are at satsang, the lion hears that it's a lion. It does. You see it, their eyes go open, they have an aha, some start laughing uncontrollably, some flip out, you know. A lot of things can happen. Yet, the stubbornness, by the time they leave, the sheep has now been the one who had the experience of being a lion. Yeah. Yeah. And if we're not warned of it, it's going to go on unnoticed. And so it's going to be a huge shadow being cast by us. Yeah. By our ignorance, we're producing a certain shadow that now follows us every step of the way. So it's not enough to get the hit that you're a lion. That's like a free sample. What you have to see is what arises after that. Yeah? Because what arises and claims to be the one who had the free sample is a bogus. It's counterfeit. Yeah? It's a mental apparition that wants to claim it and neuter it. Yeah? In other words, it doesn't mind becoming being, because that can morph into its little programming. It has no interest in being because it already has a huge interest in being Paul. I mean, unbelievably huge interest, because you could be bored stiff of Pauling and yet still be listening to it for 67 years. You would have turned off Steve in like 5 minutes if you had a sense of being Paul, but you'll be listening to Paul. It's quite intriguing, you know. So the sheep claims to have the experience of being a lion, or you can see that it has a free sample of its absence, and yet it arises and claims it's the one that was there to experience its own absence. Yeah. So this was really cool when it started to happen to me, because I was wondering, I saw the dynamics of satsang, and then I started teaching outside, not teaching, inviting outside of recovery, and I saw the spiritual illness, you know. And I saw people, some of them have been to 500 satsangs. They've tried every fucking person. Yeah, there's no monogamy in non-duality. There's just a lot of polygamy. Trying to get every fucking flavor, and they get no fucking flavor. Yeah, because the sheep, you know, has a broad spectrum of what it wants to eat. When you hear the message, it should cause a disarming. Yeah. Not reaching for another message. Just let it fucking sit for a while and let it cook. Yeah? And you'll observe if it's on the money, and you'll be expressing something different, and in the observation of those expressions you may come to the conclusion you're onto something, so just stay onto something. Or really onto nothing, really. Yeah? And see where it takes you. And see, if you look at interest and attention as pieces on a game board, you can't move them. That would be interest and attention. But something can move them. And you'll know it by its fruit. You know, you'll see that you're much more available to, let's say, peace and serenity, where before you were constantly rooted in irritability, restlessness, and discontent. Yeah, which took a lot of work to try to keep that at bay, and the peace and serenity demands no work, really. It doesn't say you're going to have peace of mind in recovery. It says you'll be able to enjoy peace of mind. Peace of mind is already there. But when we're up the ass of self, we can't enjoy it. Yeah? First of all, because we're in agitation. And second of all, if peace does occur, you're contained in time, so you think, well, this is nice now, but is it going to be here tomorrow? So that ain't peace. Yeah? So these qualities that from the sheep, it looks like you're going to have to, you know, like straighten all your hair out, you know, grow claws, practice roaring, to arrive at these qualities that you think the lion has, are inherently available. They're just not being expressed because there's something laying over it, yeah? There's the selfing. So, all right, so you catch it once. So here, simple example. You speak about dreaming, yeah, as this event. Dreaming, just like at night, this is dreaming. All right, so what happens is you think, oh, I delivered a good message. This is dreaming. But what happens is the dreamt claims to be the hearer of the dreaming. The dreamt. The message isn't to the dreamt. That's why we're throwing it over everyone's head. Yeah. Why? Because I don't want you to get it. I gotta get through you to the mailbox. That's the point. The mail isn't for you. You're the slot. We're trying to get through you to the real inhabitant. Yeah. Because when the dreaming hears about dreaming, it sees the dreamt as a part of dreaming. When the dreamt hears about dreaming, it thinks it should have 50 Cadillacs. Yeah? Perfect joints, tons of babes, lots of money. Its idea is, if I'm the dreaming, it would be tailor-made for me as the dreamt. No, because you're the dreamt. That's how you're appearing. The dreaming has you exactly the way it wants to see you, like it or not. Yeah. So I don't want to talk to any dreamt about the dreaming, because it actually makes it worse. Just like to talk about awakening and enlightenment to the dreamt makes it worse for the dreamt. It's now got two new whips, like real fucking fine, sublime, long whips of spirituality that they can whip you. Oh yes, I'm not awake. What can I do to be awake today? The head just plays God, a sheep god. All the while the lion, trying for the sheep to become like a lion, is the biggest fucking denial of the lion. Yeah, there's a great statement in the Course. It says, hey, firm in faith in the denial of what you are, you take the something else as you. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, firm in faith. In other words, there's a belief that you're the sheep. Yeah, yeah. And believing that you're the sheep is a denial of the lion. So don't you see, if the sheep gets a sniff of the lion, it may act like it wants to arrive there, but it's in a totally counter fucking cognitive dissonance around it, because it has the feeling, if I am a lion or I become a lion, it means the sheep has to be destroyed. The sheep's not going to be running to the finish line. It has a desire to be a sheep. So if it goes, all right, reality, the biggest mystery is reality wanting to attain reality. What? The great master. The greatest mystery here is reality wanting to attain reality. Okay? So what happens? If reality, aka Paul, starts trying to attain reality, sooner or later, it's seen that Paul is the big obscuring agent. So now, in Paul's little fucking binary mind, I have to be destroyed for reality to be attained. Paul's not going to really speed up. to find reality. It wants to drag its feet. So now you can see it in spirituality. It could take lifetimes. That sounds good. That guarantees me a few runs here. Fucking far out. Where do I sign? See what you're not. That's all. You already are seeing from what you are. Yeah. Let that arrive at seeing what you're not. Instead of leaping from seeing what you are to I'm the looker from what I'm not. Yeah. Just maybe there's a huge pause there. See what you're not, and in seeing what you're not, you will find out. Guaranteed, you're gonna find out what you are. You're not going to know it, you're not going to understand it, you're not going to experience it, but you're going to find out about it. Yeah? You're going to find out that being is in a lofty position. There's not a staircase that arrives to being through of experience, understanding, knowing, and then being. No. You can't do yourself into that being. You can't have yourself into the being. You can't lose yourself into the being. The being does not demand any sacrifice on this end. It's just seeing what you're not from what you are. Yeah? And more gets revealed. So now you catch the thief that's impersonating you as the policeman and the thief. You catch it. It's not you catching it, there's a catching of it. And what happens? All that happens is you lose interest in the cops and robber game. It continues on, but you lose interest in it. And now you're gaining interest in others and in peace and serenity. That's all. Yeah? And now you're totally convinced, not that you're in the moment, you're totally convinced you can't be out of the moment. That's what you're convinced of. You're completely convinced you cannot be out of a moment, ever. Yeah? Just put it to rest, because the head riffs unbelievably on that possibility. It's made us believe in an impossibility that you could be somewhere else than where you are. So you get that clear. Convinced. Look at your own experience. Yeah. All right? So then people, oh, you look like you were in the moment. Yeah, because I can't be out of the moment. I'm not sweating. I don't have like a being in the moment athletic gear. You know, this is what it takes. You know, it's just whatever you're wearing doesn't signify that you've arrived or left. Yeah, you're just here. You're completely here all the time. You don't get chipped at all. You're here sleeping, you're here awake, you're here completely. And you're very clear that any movement to make that better or arrive there or re-arrive there because you believe you left, like I thought of something, I left. No, you never left. You never left. Yeah, never. You're just there. Yeah, or here. And then a lot of shit's settled, and then your giant targets of enlightenment, complete transcendences, goes down and find a latte, some raw desserts, you know, some nice shoes. The lofty targets are all dispersed, and now you're just the action figures. You know? But if you stop for a second, you're in eternity. You stop right now. It doesn't take any time. Oh, let me get there. You never left. There's no minute that you're gonna. It doesn't take a minute to get to where you already are. You're just there. You know, just like when you open your eyes up in the morning. Do you get a text at 7? All right, seeing's coming. Get ready. Estimated time of arrival, 8:35. It's whatever time you wake up. The room appears, everything fucking appears, the whole world appears. Yeah. So you know, sooner or later, it's going to be so obvious to you. And you know, it doesn't need concentration and extreme farsighted focus, and you've got to have, you know, the eyes to see far. No, it's just obvious, super obvious, yeah, that what you are can never not be what you are, yeah. Nothing has lost it, nothing has blemished it, nothing has hidden it, yeah. It's all appearing to it that these things are so, and when it's convinced that they're not, the appearance will still be there, but the effects won't be there, yes? It will appear like you're a sheep, but the effects of a life as a sheep will diminish. There will be effects, yeah, but they won't be like 12-hour fucking drum solos anymore, yeah? There'll be effects, you'll live, and yes? And what happens is you come up to a conclusion after years, hey, I'm traveling lighter. And it's obvious I'm not causing it, so therefore it can continue, unabated really. And you keep observing, I'm traveling lighter, to the point you lose all interest in observing if you're traveling lighter or not. I just say it for the meetings. I'm not sitting here, I'm traveling lighter. You know, every 3 hours, beep, I'm traveling lighter. You lose interest in all that. You lose interest in how's Paul doing. You just do. You know, I'm more interested in how my cat's doing than Paul's doing. Yeah, so I don't know. Jeff's been here a long time. Have we really changed the message much?
You tell it in different ways.
Yeah, it's just all different ways. That's the fun of it, yeah? It's like living, you've learned the sax, and you just keep playing I Love Supreme. It's the same theme. Dun, 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 dun. You just riff, go this way. Dun, 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 dun. For like fucking years. The theme is it. All the other shit is just to sort of infer or imply the theme. That's all it is, yeah? Sometimes you can't go directly to the theme, but it's better arrived at through like deflection, or you know what I mean, like a bunker shot in pool. Yeah, it's much better because you catch the mental state unawares and the message gets through. You have to realize that which is looking is the obscuring agent. Yeah. This is the signifier of this place being real. Why waste any time trying to convince it isn't? It's pointless. It's pointless. Is this God's will itself? It's pointless. It's fucking pointless. This has a limited faculty. It's not a chariot of the gods. It's not going to transform into light with a little, like an outline of Paul. You know, it's just, it's an appearance, really, and it's going to disappear. So we can share with you 5 or 6 ways the mental state claims to be you, and with the hopes that after you recognize a few of them, there's a leap, yeah? Like one of those 100 monkey phenomena. You don't have to go through every one of them. You know already. All you need is maybe 1, 2, 3, and then you realize, oh Jesus, that which I'm not's going to arise wherever that which I am is. It's going to arise in time until you pass away, and it's going to present its narrative. So what? We believe it still sucks relevance out of everything because it convinces us that it has to be totally changed for what we are to be available. No fucking way. No fucking way. It's like here's the sun. I want to get some tan. Yeah, and then there's clouds. From this point of view, the clouds can block me from the sun, yes? Now, what would happen if I'm on the sun side, I see the same clouds, but do they have the ability to block me? So here, let's say this is the membrane between time and timelessness. Here you are timelessness, yes? Then there's time, clouds, and then there's an appearance of a thing. The appearance of the thing suggests that it's this, but not as this, but as the thing. Yeah? So now suddenly, here you are, the son of all sons, clouds, this membrane, and here. So now you're here, and you want to get into the sunlight of the spirit. But there's this huge belt of clouds blocking you. Yeah? All determined on your location, not on fact. Yeah? Yet, what you are is the sun. Yeah? So if you see, instead of trying to find another skillful methodology to break through the clouds to get to the sun, only to be cast back to the other side of the cloud, and then learn another way and spend a little more time and then back, yeah? You see you're not that from the sun. Now it keeps appearing. There's Paul. There's the clouds. Paul's frustrated because things seem to be blocking it. The piece isn't stabilized. I don't feel great every second of the day. Yeah? I haven't turned into like light yet. I mustn't still be there. Yes? All this baloney. Yeah? Now you see all that as not you. Instead of looking from it as you, you see it as not you. So suddenly, no matter how Paul is on the other side of the clouds, you're in the light. Yes, da da da. And Paul's condition isn't the cause of how much light's available. You are light. Yeah. So Paul, yeah, it may need a way of life because Paul keeps running into fucking things, and he's a danger to himself and others. So maybe life will bring him to jail and then to recovery, and then Paul gets subdued enough that he can live a day at a time without fucking killing itself and others. That's it. It's reached its ceiling. Paul is subdued. It's staying on the game board. Yeah. All right. That's it. Now just enjoy serenity and peace. This isn't there. You're not going to change the body into a non-body. The alchemy never fucking worked. They tried it thousands of years. They're not going to transform or transmute a thing into no thing. You're not the thing. So now, oh, don't you feel like it? Oh, I'm in the sun side. Then the head goes, well, temporarily. Once the meeting's over, I better go see someone else at 2 o'clock. Fucking 5. I don't like seeing them because they charge money, but fuck it. They're in the light. I know that, so I want to be with those people. It's like commercialized. Yeah? You are the light, yes? You are the Buddha. You are the mind. Now, Hoang Po, I never met the dude, but I sort of like him a lot. And he's, to me, became very clear when he was talking to a group of people. He didn't see the individual people. He saw the Buddha, mind, and light. And he said through the individual people, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. It was just like pure clarity. Yeah? You can't use mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. In any century, at any time, whatever day, whatever continent, in temple, not temple, it's just, it's not personal. You are the Buddha, you are mind, you are light. That's why you can't use Buddha, mind, and light. If you were anything else, you could use Buddha, mind, and light. But you are Buddha, mind, and light. And therefore you can't use it to find itself. End of story. Yes, please. That's the invitation. To me, it's very disarming. See where the chips fall. If it works and you start feeling a little relief without fucking a lot of work, yeah, you're on to something. Your interest and attention will reconfigure. A lot of shit will reconfigure, and you'll be in the cat seat looking at, because to me, you're a vehicle of expression, And you also can observe the expressions. You're conscious. So I see, wow, I'm being used. We had an example the other night at recovery. It was beautiful. This person asked me to speak. I know most people don't know about recovery, but there's this thing called the traditions that most people aren't interested in. They're interested in the 12 steps because it's about relief. But traditions are the way the groups continue. So he wanted me to speak for 30 minutes on a tradition, which is like not a good gig, so to speak, because there's not much to really say. But I like the tradition, which is a loving God expresses itself through our group conscience. And our trusted servants do not govern. They're just there to serve. Beautiful, right? So I'm there. My friend came with me, two friends. Two of them are sponsees of mine. The one guy hadn't been coming around much, so he got thrust into sharing. There was two 10-minute shares, and then I was going to speak 30 minutes. The second 10-minute share got up, and he just got off of cigarettes, and he gave in. I can't do it. So he walked off the stage. So then my other friend got asked to speak. The two guys meet. My other friend needs a new change of employment. This has people with, the other guy has possibilities in that change of employment. The choreography was beautiful. I hear like in Mexico they call it maestro, the divine choreography. It was just beautiful. Everyone got fed. All the little birds in the nest, everyone got fed. Yeah. No one was lacking. No one had more. It was just beautiful. And you see it constantly. Yeah, if you just have the freaking eyes, if your eyes aren't completely on you all day, you'll see a lot. Yeah, you'll see something wonderful at play here. I mean, and you know, the suffering of being like a 60-something-year-old guy who can't make money anymore, and he has to rely on others to do the job he used to do because he can't do it, and they're unreliable. So he's got tons of stress and he's got bad health. So this is going to give him a possibility of entering a new field. Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful, yeah. I mean, how much evidence do you need? But then people, the head exempts themselves from it. Oh yeah, that's cool. But I have the problem. This problem cannot be affected by the grace or anything. It's it's all bullshit. All it is. If you're open to be led, you'll be directed. Seriously. And you'll observe, you'll get what you are will be intimated by the observation and the expressions. You can't know it because you are it, but there'll be an intimation of what you are in this life. Yeah? And that intimation can appear through you and others, and you'll recognize it. You'll see a lot of the checks in this world are signed by that power. It's so beautiful. Yeah. What a nice way to live. So, yeah. All right. Any questions? No? The beautiful thing is, it's there. We're all that. Yeah. I know we believe we have to sacrifice, like the Course would say. People believe they have to sacrifice a lot to prove to themselves that they're worthy of something that's inherently available. You don't need a resume to enter what you are. You've never left it. Yeah. You don't need to, tip the doorman. There's no doorman. All the requirements that we set up are on our side. Read the prodigal son in the Bible, the New Testament. It's the exact perfect story of that. The person leaves, he's got a rich family, they're very nice, he splits, starts living, debauchery, fucked up, becomes an alcoholic, ends up on bottoms, and he ends up in a pigsty, and he's fighting pigs for the last cob of corn. And he says, had it, but he's too he doesn't believe that his father will accept him. He doesn't believe he can enter that space because he's been bad. There's been so much relevance put on what he isn't, it's keeping him from that son. And finally, he just hits such a bottom, it collapses. The whole format of the programming collapses, and immediately takes out the whole thing of time. He's appearing on a road with his father, giving him a ring and some new clothes, saying, we got a big feast waiting for you. That was available at all times. It may have taken 20 years of his beating the shit out of himself and believing he doesn't deserve it, not to come to believe he deserved it, but giving up the system that has it that way. And then there it was. The father was there, a new set of clothing, here's a ring, and there's a big feast, let's go. What do you think he was implying? When he healed people, he says, it's done according to your faith. Yeah? We're living in a distance to what we are. Yeah? We have to be firm in faith in that which we're not. And at that moment, we're in the active denial of what we are. How are you going to use that as a vehicle to arrive at where you already are? Its whole point is to be separate. You think you're going to convince it unity, oneness? It's bullshit. It's still identified as a body which separates itself. Yeah? I remember the groups when I was younger, like Osho. First, the pretty women, then tons of men joined. Were they looking for nirvana? They were looking to get laid. Yep. They heard about, hey, they're very open, all right, give me those orange robes. Not saying every one of them, but generally there could have been that, yeah? People go to satsangs actually for a sense of belonging. They get a sense of community. I know women that go on retreats because that's where they meet their friends. It costs them $2,000 to meet their friends. I could set them up for like $5. You know, but so what? They get the sense of belonging far out. A lot of you know, we're thinking we're going to a divine fucking store to shop. It's all for the body condition. Yeah. All right. I should shut up. Yes.
This is clarifying something for me. The way that we fall for the latest incarnation of what we're not. There's something in recovery that has helped me clarify, and that is, what's my role in that? That is, in terms of who I really am. Yeah, what I'm not changes form constantly. Oh, I'm not what I used to be. No, I'm something new. And at some point, it's what's my role in the continuing willingness to fall for it each time? So, does that resonate at all?
Well, see, what falls for it is in you. What falls for it is in you. Yeah? Let's say complete objectification of self, called ego. Then subtle selves. So it's just the mental state playing with the mental state. You're not denying fucking anything. You're just space, yeah?
But space is infinite awareness and consciousness, and some part of that is constantly seemingly being used to believe in.
No, it isn't that. It's still the mental state. Yes.
What does it use to energize itself? What activates the mental state? What empowers it? Belief in it.
It's sort of just like, let's say, water. Is water wanting to be used as electricity? No. Same thing. There's the I am, and then something's trying to use it. The water doesn't say, I'm here to be electricity. It's just water, yeah? Conscious awareness is just awareness. It's just there. It doesn't have any discernment, discrimination. It's just what is. So something, the mental state appears and uses that, in a sense, yeah, to do its little numbers. And it keeps running around as I am Paul. Yeah. So I don't want to say anything, because every time I've seen what I'm not, it wasn't what I am. Really. It was a movement. Because, you know, like this, like the sky allows anything to appear in it, yeah? But it's not affected by it. The sky isn't discriminating. Rockets from Russia could be shoot through it. Rockets from America could be shoot through it. Yeah, planes from everything that shoot through it. Yeah, that kind of feeling. What has an intent isn't that. Yeah, that may be the power that's being used
That's what I'm doing.
to deliver intent, but see, again, the electricity doesn't give a shit if it makes a smoothie or turns on a light. Yeah. Yeah. So in that case, when you see what you're not, the selfing at that time, or the sense of self, now becomes more useful, because it's very clear it's the hose and not the water. Yeah? And so basically, the water goes here, goes there. Now, the greatest sense of fulfillment for the action figure doesn't come from the action figure. It comes from being directed by the water, to be of service, to be used, so to speak, is the joy. Yeah. Yeah.
When you say how many times you have to see it to finally get it, what is it that gets it? Another part of selfing? Another layer out that's a little more omniscient?
Well, the thing is, what happens is it neutralizes self. So two selfings neutralize, and then there's, it's sort of like, let's say the whole story of the toaster is it's making the toast, and then suddenly the plug gets pulled out, yeah, but the toast is still there, and it realizes it's not making the toast. Then it gets plugged in again, yeah, but now it has a different view. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. So.
Just on time.
Yeah, it's just perfect timing. Sit up here. All right, stand and stretch. Well, you're going to be stretching very shortly. Because we're just pretty much finished now. But hey, have you been here before?
I have not.
All right, so we'll squeeze out 5 minutes more. But have you heard about the site of non-duality?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your idea of that?
Nothing that I can say in words.
That's a good, safe place. So really, a meeting such as this is actually a meeting on duality, not non-duality. Yes. So why is it important to speak about duality and that you can't speak about non-duality? So why waste time trying to describe the indescribable when you can describe what's very describable to the indescribable? Yeah. Instead of trying to describe to the indescribable, you describe to the indescribable what can be describable, which is what we're not. Yes? So the whole point, non-duality is a negation. So it's not a direction. It's negating the direction of duality. Yeah? So we're familiar with duality. We're familiar with dualism. You may not have words for it, but you're very familiar with it because it's the working program all day. So what happens is we're going to describe the working programming that you call Paul, and maybe instead of seeing it as you, you can entertain it's a you, which takes out a lot of personalness, which is the obscuring, or sort of like the smoke machine. Yes. So now finally you see, you're not looking from you trying to find non-duality. You see the essence of duality as a you. Yeah? And the essence of duality here is dualism, subject-objectness. So now you start listening to what's being described. So it sounds like an object has taken itself to be the subject. Yeah. Now there's subjectiveness available, there's consciousness, there's awareness, but somehow there's a middle man or woman that's attributing the subject to an object. That's what non-duality is negating. Yeah. It's saying that's not so. So there's no need to try to convince the object that it's a subject. Just see you're not an object. Yeah. Seeing you're not an object, then you get the sense of what you are by seeing what you're not. Yeah. And now, instead of the emphasis, and there's no work involved, instead of the emphasis of seeing being cast as seer seen, the seeing is more dominant, and then after that is the seer seen narrative. So now the seeing is the horse in front of the cart of seer seen, instead of the other way around, where the seer seen has been put above or ahead of the seeing. Yeah. And the emphasis on the seer seen, which is duality, yeah, is causing seemingly a non-emphasis on the seeing, yeah, which is always available at all times. So why would you want to convince that which takes itself to be the seer that it's seeing? Just share about the seer seen with the seeing. Yeah, the seeing is very clear. It's not a seer seen. Yeah, very clear. Yeah. So to me, the whole idea of duality as a teaching is to teach the failedness of it. Yeah, that's all. Not to promise you will be one day successful if you do all this shit. No, it's just inherently failed. It's not bad or good. It's failed because it fails. Its priorities are off. Yeah, it wants the seer seen to be more important than the seeing, where there is no seer seen without seeing. So the seeing, yeah, and it wants the noun to be more important than the verbs, but without the verbs there are no noun. Yeah, without the doing there's not a doer. Yeah. The extrapolation of the doer comes from doing. It claims the doing and then implies the doer. That suddenly is now before all the doing you're ever going to do. It would be cool if you saw doing without a doer. It would be cool. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah. But what happens is all the doing in your central locality now is claimed to imply only one doer. Yeah. So when something like alcoholism takes you over, you can't see that it's a foreign fucking pathogen, because your programming is you're the doer. So then when you act out in terrible ways while under the influence, and you fuck a lot of people, you live in tons of guilt and shame for 30 fucking years that leads you to have to drink again because of the belief that you were the doer of something you really had nothing to do with. Yeah? And it's not coming from observation, it's coming from a programmed belief. Yeah? The mental state believes it's the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the taster, the toucher, and it arrived there by the claiming of the doing, the thinking, the feeling, the tasting, the touching. Yeah? So now the verb is after the noun, and now we live in self-centeredness. If self tries to get out of self, it doesn't work. If the Buddha tries to use the Buddha to seek the Buddha, it doesn't work. Why? Because you're the Buddha. Why? Self can't get a self, you're not self. So non-duality, it would be better to have duality meanings with an unspoken idea that you'll find out by what happens at the duality movement, and have a sense of non-duality instead of an idea of non-duality. much better, eh? But the horse is out of the barn, so can't get it back. So you got to just keep plugging away. Just share about what we're not, with the hopes that what you are triggers it. And what you are, as we were just talking with Keith, may not be you either. But it's getting closer, let's say. It may be an abbreviated version of you defined by consciousness, yeah. So, yeah, so, but, yeah. There's really nothing you can do, which is great news. Really, there's nothing you can do. And if you realize that, if you realize the failedness of how you're built, you can't get it, grok it, understand it, have it, experience it, know it. So with hopes the cranes will be, there'll be a moment the cranes will become inert and you'll be there left with your own devices and you'll realize they're not your devices. Yeah. Then the shit keeps going on, but you've lost interest in it. Yeah. And your interest has been gained in something that's always available at all times. Yeah. Something that doesn't come and go. Something that is beyond wasing and willing. Yeah. Not in a bad place to land. What does it allow? It allows this to travel later, in spite of itself. Yeah, and then begrudgingly it has to admit, hey, it's working. I had nothing to do with it, but it's working. And maybe that's why shit never worked, because I had a lot to do with it. Who knows? It should come to that conclusion, hopefully fast. All right, well, that's it. Yeah, can keep going, but yeah.